Hello everyone, I'm Bottles and welcome to Releasing the Unreleased. Unreleased games have always fascinated me to my core. Not only do I find the concept of an abandoned project for a very popular franchise super interesting, but I also always think about how the franchise would have been affected if these games were to be released. I'm going to start off our series proper by going into as many unreleased Sonic games as I can, speculating how it would have affected future Sonic canon if these games were to be released. The game we will be talking about this week is the Game Boy Advance port of Sonic Riders. Sonic Riders was a Sonic racing game for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and PC, where Sonic and his friends race around high-speed tracks on their extreme gear. This game introduced fan-favorite characters such as Jet the Hawk, Storm the Albatross, and Wave the Swallow, also known as the Babylon Rogues. Originally, there was going to be a handheld version of this game that would have been released for the Game Boy Advance. The developer that was chosen to create this handheld version was none other than Backbone Studios, the team behind the Sonic Rivals games on the PSP. This version of Sonic Riders would have been a 2D racing game compared to games like Outrun. Unfortunately though, this game being 2D, unlike its console counterpart, would be its undoing. Backbone decided to show their build of Sonic Riders for the Game Boy Advance to Sega, and unfortunately, they were not impressed. They weren't too keen on the idea that this would be a 2D racing game and insisted that if they were going to go forward on this project, they needed to add some 3D elements to the game to make it work better alongside the console version. This angered Backbone. They weren't even realizing what they were asking. They thought that adding a couple of 3D assets was just as simple as placing them there. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. In order to add these assets that Sega wanted, they would need to rewrite the entire game's engine. Considering they had to do that, add in the features that Sega wanted, and then also release the game on time, Backbone essentially said, "Fuck that," and canceled the game outright. I wish we could see what this game looked like from the few assets we have seen of the game. I really like the aesthetics of it, but unfortunately nothing has come out publicly. Not even any screenshots from magazines or anything. The only reason we even know this game existed was because it was listed in a couple of the animators' portfolios. I don't think the events of Sonic Riders would have played out too much differently in the Game Boy Advance port as it did in the console version, so I don't think the story of the Babylon Rogues would be that much affected. We would have had insanely cool sprites of Jet, Wave, and Storm though, and that is a loss that I don't think that I am prepared to deal with. Yeah, sorry, don't really think this one would have had too much effect on Sonic canon as a whole. All I think we missed out on were some cool artwork, a fun game, and some banging Game Boy Advance tunes. That concludes this episode of Releasing the Unreleased. What did you guys think? Are there games that you want me to cover that have never come out? Put your suggestions in the comments below and let's learn about the wonderfully weird world of canceled games together. If you want to see the next episode of the series, tune in next week, but if you're impatient, become a channel member to be able to watch the episode right now. Our social media are in the description below as well as our merch store, and make sure to support the channel as much as you can. The more you support, the more I can eat. With that, I bid you, my well-esteemed guests, adieu.